Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be digging into the latest from a big name in Singapore property, Bukit Sembawang Estates. And what a story it is. It kicks off with a pretty shocking drop in profits, but then it takes this massive turn towards a huge bet on the future.
So let's just dive right in, shall we? Because this is the headline that really grabs your attention, right? A 25% plunge in profit for a developer this big? That's a big deal. So you got to ask, what is actually going on here? Let's break down the numbers.
Okay, so to really get the big picture, we're going to start with just two key numbers. These are from the first half of their fiscal year, and believe me, they really set the stage for everything else we're going to talk about.
All right, first up, the bottom line, profit after tax. It dropped a full 25% compared to the same time last year. Now, to put that into perspective, that's a fall from almost $63 million all the way down to just over $47 million. Yeah, that's a significant hit, no matter how you slice it.
And this slide shows you exactly where that profit drop is coming from. Take a look at the revenue. That's the total cash coming in the door. It took an even bigger hit, plummeting 60%. We are talking about a drop from $324 million down to $130 million. But, and this is the really interesting part, here's the twist. This isn't actually a story about failure. No, it's something else entirely.
So what's so fascinating here is that this huge drop in revenue and profit, it's not because their projects are flopping. Not at all. It's actually because some of their biggest projects were, in a way, too successful. And it all boils down to the tricky timing of property development.
Okay, to get this, we've got to talk about something called the TOP. That stands for Temporary Occupation Permit. Now, in the property world, getting your TOP is a massive deal. It's the moment you can officially say, the building's done, people can move in. But, and this is so crucial for the accountants, once a project gets that TOP, most of the money it made has already been counted in previous financial reports. Think of it like a huge concert. Most of the tickets were sold months ago, so on the night of the show, you're not seeing a big spike in ticket revenue.
And boom, this slide just lays it all out, plain and simple. Look at last year, over on the left. The cash was just flowing in from three big projects, right? The Atelier, LIV at MB, and the Pollen Collection. Now, shift your eyes to this year, on the right. See the difference? The Atelier and LIV at MB, they're done. They've gotten their tops. So all that huge revenue they were bringing in, poof, it's vanished from this year's books. And that leaves this massive hole that the other projects just can't fill on their own.
All right, so with those huge moneymakers now in the rearview mirror, you have to wonder, what's the game plan for Bukit Sembawang now? Well, it looks like they are reloading for the next big wave. Let's flip over to the balance sheet and see exactly how they're laying the foundation for what comes next.
Just look at this chart. That bar represents what they call development properties, and you can basically think of that as their inventory, land and projects they're currently building. And it has more than doubled in just 6 months. It shot up from around $500 million to over $1 billion. I mean, this is a company that is seriously stocking its pantry for the future.
So where did that massive jump to $1 billion come from? Well, a huge piece of that puzzle was paying for things called Land Betterment Charges. These are basically fees you pay the government to get land ready for new, bigger developments. And the report even tells us where that money is going, to future projects like Nim and Luxus. I mean, that's about as clear a signal as you can get. They are laying the groundwork for some major new stuff.
Of course, you can't just spend $500 million without it coming from somewhere, right? And this slide shows you the trade-off perfectly. On one hand, their cash on hand, it got cut by more than half. And on the other, for the first time in a while, they took on a brand new loan for $121 million, and it's specifically for these new projects. So what they're doing is trading in a big chunk of their cash pile for future potential.
Okay, so let's recap. Bukit Sembawang is spending a ton of money and even taking on new debt, all to build for the future. So that begs the really big question. What kind of market are they betting on? I mean, how confident are they about the future of Singapore property?
Well, if you look at their own commentary, they give us a pretty clear answer. They use the word resilient. They're saying that they believe demand is still strong, that people in Singapore are in a good financial spot, and that mortgage rates are low enough to keep things humming. That right there is the foundation of their whole bet.
And look, they're not just saying this based on a hunch. They're looking at the hard data. This snapshot here is from Singapore's Urban Redevelopment Authority, the URA, and it shows exactly why they're so confident. Transaction volumes. They jumped more than 44% from the last quarter. And prices? They kept climbing, up almost a full %. The market itself seems to be saying, yeah, you're making the right move.
And this is what it's all about. All that spending, all that planning, it leads to this, a real, tangible pipeline of new projects. And the whole point of these is to bring that revenue roaring back. They're getting ready to launch Pollen Collection 2, they're still selling their other places, and they're already planning way ahead for the next phase of Luxus Hills. This is their strategy, in black and white, for refilling that revenue engine.
So, there you have it. We started with this startling 25% profit drop, and we've ended up with a story about a massive strategic bet on the future. Bukit Sembawang has basically cashed in today's profits to invest in tomorrow's projects, all because they believe in the long-term strength of the Singapore property market. And that really leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? In a world that feels pretty uncertain right now, will this big, bold bet actually pay off? Thanks for digging into the numbers with us.